Hello, this is Richa Sarma, Assistant Professor, Department of English, USTM. Today we are going to look at history of English teachers from the beginning to Shakespeare's time. The following slides are about how theatre began in England and what are the changes it went through. It also talks about the characteristics and important playwrights of particular periods. So we'll start with Greek theatre. To understand British theatre, English theatre, it's very important to see where it has come from, and it has actually come from Greek theatre. Greek theatre from 500 BC to 300 BC, we will discuss now. Among the Greek people, theatre came to their scene or became a part of their life because of their religious beliefs. Among the Greek people, they worshipped several gods and goddesses, and the youngest of them was Dionysus, the god of celebration and god of wine. It was believed that to impress Dionysus or to get blessing from Dionysus, the uh, deity has to be shown performing arts. So people used to perform different art forms to celebrate Dionysus, and theatre was one among them. When theatre was introduced among the Greek people, it was then written in verse form. Because theatres were written in verse form, so it was important that they must have singers in their enacting team or among the actors team. The chorus played a very significant role among the Greek people. The chorus used to narrate the story, used to give the background of the story, and then actors came to stage and they used to perform their parts. Actors also gave the dialogues delivery in verse form because the plays were written in verse form only. During that time, the actors team were uh, consisted of very uh, small numbers of people. Suppose if there is a team of five people, five actors, those five actors would play multiple roles because it was sometimes necessary that to tell a proper story they must introduce more than five characters, but suppose they have just five actors, then those five actors used to do multiple roles to tell the story properly. And uh, it became a characteristic of Greek theatre. However, though the Greek theatre introduced a less number of people or was based on a religious belief, it was seen that the Greek people did not have any restriction in their plot selection or storyline. They could select any plot, any theme to celebrate their god of wine and celebration. Uh, so after that, we move to theatre in Middle Ages, that is after 300 BC till 1500 AD. Greek theatre influenced the English people, and as a result, the English people also wanted to write plays, enact plays, and wanted to watch plays. But the problem was that before 300 BC, also, there was theatre in the England. In the island of England, we would just call it an island because during that time the England was kind of secluded from the world. The globalization was not that much developed during that time, but then still there was a kind of link among the different islands or different countries. The link was established mainly by the travelers and sometimes by the colonizers. So when travelers used to travel different places, they used to write travelogues, they used to collect their memories, their recorded informations were found in their travelogues, and people read them, got influenced by them. In such a way, Greek theatre also influenced the English people. Now, English people also wanted to perform. But the problem is that Roman Catholic Church banned theatre for a period of time. Roman Catholic Church did not allow uh, people to perform or write theatres any longer. Actually, before 300 BC also there was theatre in practice among the English people, but for some religious upheavals, they stopped practicing theatres. They stopped going to theatres because Roman Catholic Church believed that it was not a pious way of living. Anyways, after 300 BC, when people got influenced by the Greek theater, they could learn that how Greek people are celebrating their god of wine and god of celebration. So, in that way, this idea also came to the Roman Catholic Church. They thought that why not to use theater as a tool to spread their own religion, that is Christianity. So suddenly, Roman theatre actually pulled that restriction out from the discourse of theatre, and they allowed people to write theatre, to enact theatre, and to watch theatre definitely. After 300 BC, when all the restrictions were taken out from theatre, then they came up with certain rules that had to be followed by the theatre going folk as well as the theatre writing folk or performing folk. The restriction was such that they could only write and watch plays based on religion or religious themes. So Roman Catholic Church came up with three different kinds of drama, and they allowed only those three different kinds of drama to be written and enjoyed by people. The plays were mystery plays, miracle plays, and morality plays. Now, what is this mystery play, miracle play, and morality play? At first, we will look at mystery plays. The mystery plays were based on religious themes. They were also known as play of Corpus Christi. They were based on biblical stories. That means the stories were taken from Bible. Scripted stories from Bible were taken and enacted. So in a way, they wanted to reach people and they wanted to spread Christianity across globe. Another type of theatre which was allowed by Roman Catholic Church was miracle plays. And in miracle plays, the plays were not scripted one. They were not found in Bible, but they were based on life of saints. So people who devoted their life to religion on the basis of such people's life story, they used to perform plays, they used to write plays, and people were allowed to watch such plays. Those plays were now known as miracle plays. There are several names given to miracle plays such as passion plays. Next comes morality plays. Now morality plays were neither scripted nor taken from someone's life. So what were the morality plays? Morality plays were based on imagination. These plays were fictional, but the center of this play was morality, that they have to spread Christian morals among people. A very famous morality play is Everyman, which shows the Christian belief that what we can take after death or what stays with us till death. So that character Everyman represents all of us, and that is a very important or significant morality play. Now one more thing we have to understand, that morality play is unlike miracle and mystery plays, because morality plays are neither scripted nor they are based on someone's life. Morality plays are fictional in nature. After that, we can actually see the different stages of Renaissance theatre. So, Renaissance theatre came to scene after 1558. The word Renaissance is self-explanatory in manner. Renaissance means revive or something which again comes back. Okay, which was there but then it disappeared and it again comes back. That is called Renaissance, to relive or revive. Now, why Renaissance theatre? Because there was a time when Roman Catholic Church banned theatre. It also signals the fact that there was theatre before Roman Catholic Church banned them. And those kinds of theatre which existed before this banning came back to the scene again, and that is why this theatre is known as Renaissance theatre. Now, Renaissance theatre can be divided into three parts: Elizabethan period, Jacobean period, and Caroline period. The names are taken on the basis of the rulers who were ruling England during that time. Elizabethan period definitely after the name of Queen Elizabeth, Jacobean period after James I, and Caroline period after Charles I. What happened in Elizabethan period? Queen Elizabeth was very much interested in plays, and that is why Queen Elizabeth encouraged the artists to come up with new creativity. Not only plays, Queen Elizabeth was interested in different kinds of creative fields, and play was one among them. So Queen Elizabeth said that there was no restriction to put for the artist, and they could write on any theme, any plot they wished to. Now that the religion theme was not compulsory for the playwrights, so the audience were also excited to see something new. And that is why the diversified audience, we could say, that is very rich, upper middle class, lower middle class, all kinds of audience could go and enjoy theater now. And they actually wanted to go and watch theater because now the monotonous way of spreading religion was not the key of theater. So that is why they wanted to see the new kind of theater. And the most prominent playwright of this period are Christopher Marlowe, William Shakespeare, Ben Jonson, and so on. One of the very important aspect of this period is war of theatres, which we also know as Potomachia. For Potomachia, there is a separate slide which talks about what Potomachia is, and then comes the characteristics of Elizabethan theatre. Now, when we talk about the characteristics of Elizabethan theatre, natural lighting was one of them. Minimal sets or set designers were not introduced. That means during Elizabethan theatre, it was not compulsory or not necessary to introduce the set designer, because basically the set designer did not have to do a lot. The set designs were very minimalistic, so it was not compulsory for the playwrights to introduce the set designer to the audience. Live sound effect musical performances were included, and doubling and cross-gendered castings were done. That means a man had to play the role of women, because we can understand during that period of time women were not allowed to go to stage. Elaborate costumes, the costumes were quite elaborate. That means they tried to somehow exaggerate the appearance of the characters. Subject matters became more private compared to Greek drama. So, though English theatre was inspired by Greek drama, but the subject matter started becoming more private. Private in the sense that among the Greek people, they did not show anything related to private life on the stage. But as Elizabethan period had no kind of restriction, so the writers had the liberty to choose any topic of their private life, personal life, to show on the stage. Next comes the aspect which is very important of Elizabethan period theatre, that is Poitomachia, or the War of Theatre, that happened in 1599. Actually, what happened during that point of time, the poets, the authors, they used to fight with each other. They used to criticize each other through their writings, and there were so many poems written to criticize each other. For example, Dryden's Macflecknoe. So this is such a poem where he is criticizing another poet. So in 1599, actually, there was a kind of ban which is put on prose and verse publication, written to satirize the other person or any other poet or any other author or system as in social system, monarchical system, and so on. So when the ban was put, so people kind of they lost their liberty to talk freely. So they chose plays through which they can satirize the other person, they can comment on the other person's creativity or the prevailing social or monarchical system. This was the war of satirical dramas between Ben Jonson and his rivals John Marston and Thomas Dacre. So these three playwrights, they fought with each other, writing plays. Suppose the way it started with Marston. So Marston is one playwright. He wrote Hysteriomastes, a play to criticize Ben Jonson. Now, as an answer, Ben Jonson wrote Every Man Out of His Humor, and then as an answer to that, as a reply to that, Jack Jump's Entertainment was written by John Marston. So in that way the process went on. They wrote several plays. Here are the slides, and it stopped with Stereomastics, where Decker completed the sequence by mocking Ben Jonson. So it is War of Theatre. We know it as War of Theatre. Now comes Jacobean period. After Queen Elizabeth, King James I came to the throne. 1603 to 1625, it was the period of James I. Shakespeare also wrote in this period, till half of this period we can say. Shakespeare and Ben Jonson wrote in Jacobean period as well, and Masque appeared. Now Masque is a particular kind of play. So what were masks? Masks were kind of short plays, and the costumes were different. Those plays are specially designed for the royal families, and which were performed in front of the queens or kings. John Webster, George Chapman, Thomas Middleton, John Fletcher, Francis Beaumont, and such names are here who were very important playwrights of Jacobean period. Now, when we talk about the characteristics of Jacobean theatre, dark tragedies came to stage. Now, what do we understand by dark tragedies? See, tragedies are such which are bound to be sad in nature, which are bound to be, involving some murder scenes or such death scenes. But then, during Elizabethan period, not all kinds of scenes were shown on the stage. So the playwright used much sensibility to show such scenes on stage, and in some of the plays where they wrote such scenes, those scenes were just narrated on stage but not shown or not enacted. But in Jacobean theatre, that restriction was not there. So dark tragedies means any dark scenes, murder, torture scenes were shown on stage openly. It was not narrated or announced to audience, but it was actually shown. Corruption of the court and aristocratic society was a very important theme of Jacobean theatre. So it seems that the liberty that they achieved during Elizabethan theatre bloomed more, flourished more in Jacobean plays, and they started criticizing openly about the social system, the political system, and so on. Comedies were included, and the comedies had loose plots. That means not so serious plots. Loose plots comedies were introduced during Jacobean period. Now we have come to the conclusion. The Renaissance theatre went back to the Greek tradition of selecting personal topics or themes. Yes, so among the Greek people, as I said, though the purpose of the Greek people was to celebrate one of their gods, that is Dionysus, but they did not have such kinds of restriction in plots and you know. Storyline selection, and the same thing happened in case of Renaissance theatre. Before Renaissance theatre, there was a restriction put on the English people to write and enjoy only plays which are based on religion. But then that restriction was no longer seen in Elizabethan period, and after Renaissance period we could not see such kinds of restriction. Theatre was no longer spreading a particular religion, of course. When theatre started becoming private and personal, it had no purpose to spread a particular religion and so. However, it lost the seriousness of Greek theatre, which eventually triggered the Puritan movement and consequently a ban on theatre from 1642 to 1616. That means what happened? The Greek theatre were quite serious while they dealt with the plays. But then, by the end of Jacobean period, we could see one thing, that that seriousness was no longer observed in the plays. They could show anything on stage. So, if it's very dark comedy, as of dark tragedy, or some scenes which deals with sexual preferences and such. So these things were openly shown on stage, and it actually triggered some people. Though the restriction was no longer there, they could write on anything. But then when they started becoming more private, more personal with the plays, then a religious group of people started having problem with such kinds of plays, and they put another ban, which is known as the Puritan movement, and they banned theatre from 1642 to 1660. There was no theatre written on or enacted during that period of time. That's all about British theatre till Renaissance. Thank you.